Greetings once again. Abba Ayalew Amlak, Heruseke Mankamun, Silo Samanzi uzinyo lengwe, uboya bengwe. Uzinyo lengwenya, uboya bengwe. Uchaya ingwe lo utukutu mandlana udla umvubu ukhipha utyede. Isinqwazi semfene uwewe ugasikekeke. Isende elihle, kalibhaza umlobo kuzala umuntu. Uchaya ingwe ke lo. Ndizalwa intombi yasemabheleni mina, ukhuboni. Umafu ungwenya udlambulu umnomano unombikazi undaba ezitha umabongwa nazigusha izimzime eladla amakhanda amadoda abanye bedla amazimba ngumama onizalayo ke lowo ndikhula kulamhlaba ke waseBhayi kuzodwa siphinda phinda into enye apha ikhaya ke apho utata wokha khona ingqambu ke yekhaya ke yamampandla kukucentana emvekhaya ezilalini umama ngwapha kuqumbu emvumelwano ndisitsho ke ndisithi ke ndingumzukulwana ophungula onomasikisiki inyoni yezwe inyoni esinda sisila sayo inyoni yaqamba amanga yathi amabele avuthiwe kanti izibonelo kwayo ndiphinde ndibe ngumzukulwana emaxesibeni ononzaba osabelo yabizwa emakhumeni ke kanjalo ndisisizukulwana samanqarhwane ohlabilawo oyintsana namhlanje ke ngizoncokolela ngendoda endidibene nayo apha ekuhamba-hambeni apha esithubeni umuntu esikhula ke sibanintsi ke siyamazi apha eTV-ni man le ndoda endihleli nayo apha koo-basketball ukhona koo-hip hop ukhona ezi-TV-ni ukhona side sadibana ke kuthiwa ziyagagana ngenye imini into ezingadibaniyo ziintaba sadibana ke eJoburg siyoshuta iCastle Mixed Out sidibana khona sancokola hayi man yazi xa kuvuka into apha encokweni xa ke khange sibe nexesha ndithi kule ndoda endihamba nayo masithathe iinamba zalo mfo sazane ndiyarhalela uncokola naye enzulu nyhani kube njalo ke sibulela uMarhadebe wenze ukuthi ube lapha namhlanje nyhani ke wafika apha ke ekuhlaleni kwam ndiyabukela man ukuthi who is Siyabonga Ngwekazi, who is Scoop Makhathini ndiyamamela ezinye ii-podcast ozenzile ezinye into ozenzileyo interviews ndithi hayi man andiva kakuhle libhele umama libhele ndithi hayi okay tik iye le ncoko yakho iye le ncoko yakho uthethe ngapho ukhula khona ngapho uzalwe khona apho ukhula khona iphinde idibane le nto New Bright hayi man
elimba
iphinde ihambe le nto sistrato ke eso esithetha ngaso iLimba Street iphinde idibane le nto kwaMagxaki
sayihamba from elimba saya eMagxaki ekhaya
man too many connections nale ndoda
iMagxaki i-connection yakho neMagxaki ihamba njani
i-connection yam neMagxaki umama wokha khona emdoda
ndayibona imdoda
and around us ke udadobawo wayelapha and then down the other street utata wayelapha and then so it's my family it's sikhona kuloo ndawo ekhaya hayi man too many connections here wafika he kwenzeka umhlola ngalamini kwafuneka sishuthile kodwa sashutha. Awukwazi ke ukwamkela umnakwenu kokwenu ungamamkeli ngendlela, singabantu bomgquba. Umgquba ke lo sihleli kuwo kwesisibaya ngwasemabheleni.
Camakho.
Kwanyanzeleka uba hayi kungene isihlwele apha ekhaya, sala apha ekhaya. Ndisitsho nje ndithi ngoDisemba lonyaka uphelileyo ndigqiba ungcwaba uMamBhele, umama ondizalayo. Now ndihlela apha noBhele emgqubeni wamaBhele. To me it's a strange feeling. It feels like ndihleli nomamam kum. But it's me also acknowledging the presence kaBhelekazi.
Camakho.
Ukuthi no man, iBhele likhona. Kwanyanzeleka ke ndithatha umgquba walapha esibayeni ndikuhlamba inyawo ndikwamkele ukuba amaBhele alapha ekhayeni akuve nawe uba ukhona.
Camakho. Bendiyiqala naleyo.
Ndacela umfana apha uMalusi, uStewart, uVictor, ukuthi no man, khosenge noma ikomiki uBhele azosela amasako kwabo kuba ke ufikile ekhaya. Kwaba njalo.
Camakho.
Sakhupha ke nezimhlophe zabalela ukuthula, sancamla nakuzo, sarhabulisana, satya nomya, saqhumisa umdiza, sonwaba. Latshona ilanga
Kakhulu. Incoko ayipheli.
incoko ayipheli. Silapha namhlanje nomnakwethu Bhele, kubona andizukuhambela phambili mntakwethu. Utshilo wathi idini ulonyusile, phofu ulihlabile uliwisile. Ndilonyusile ke mna.
Camakho.
Naba bantu phaka izithebe lawula.
Abba, mna ndizawuthetha ndibuze from a position eyokuqala for mna nolwazi mna endifuna ulazi kuwe, olunye ulwazi lungawe, and then ndizawubuza nemibuzo abantu mhlambi kudala nawo bezibuza lo mibuzo. Ndifuna ukuqala ngokugobeka kwakho, imfundo yakho injani, waqala apho ukufunda from primary school, high school, and then wagobeka njani to olu lwazi lwesintu.
Hey,
Yeah, into endifuna uyifunda kakhulu kuwe loo nto leyo.
ukuthi iqale phi le ndlela?
And wawuqhawula njani lo makhonkco wesiNgesi?
Ndiyakuva Bhele. Mntakwethu, enyanisweni intoni ibizwa grade R, crash. Yayicrash ngoku. Sengo-grade R no-grade RR ngoku. Icrash ndangena kwenye icrash eGarankuwa ngapha. YMCA building yakhona. It's a community center. From there I went to Loreto Convent in Pretoria.
Sure.
It's a convent, Yaiva. Now it's a Catholic school. So my first encounter with school was religious.
Sure.
And in a Catholic school, you have no choice but to attend mass, awuna choice but to attend cathedral, because Eskina, where I went to school, it was a big cathedral. So there was always something that took us to church, and you'd watch these Roman Catholic rituals being performed, altar boys and all of that. But thanks to my parents, I never participated physically in those rituals. But I was there esikolweni, I was there in the church, in the temple, in the cathedral watching. So my early years of education were very much influenced by Catholicism, not just ekhaya, esikolweni. Whereas ekhaya, we grew up in what is known as an African type of Christian church.
Sure.
So there was this conflict. Singamasabatha ekhaya, you know. Asishefi intshebe, asikho ukuyokutshisayo ngesabatha and all of that. So there was this contrast. Enkhula phambi kwayo ekhaya, religion is perceived like this. Esikolweni, this is how it's delivered. So now you start questioning, man, ukuthi why nina nisenza kanje? Why thina sisenza kanje? And then you start hearing answers. I remember I was very close to one nun, Sister Cecilia. She was a music teacher as well as esikolweni. She taught me music, keyboard, she taught me piano, she taught me violin, she taught me, my influence in music started with her. Nokucula. She was a lovely woman, Sister Cecilia. From that background, Catholicism, ukuthi praying to statues and yaboguqela izithixo, and ekhaya yenziwa mos lanto. So you have to question it. Why nina kunje? Why nina kunje? Why nina kunje? But then you start to realize ukuthi man, kwalapha esikolweni there is a Muslim here who is neither of these two. And then you start to see, oh, nina nenza different, but that's still in primary. Until I got to, what is it? Standard 4. Yeah, standard 4. Which is what? Grade 6 now. Yeah, grade 6. Grade 6, standard 4. End of that year, I was in, we went to London. No, Mama. My mother was doing a PhD in London. So I traveled with her. So for the 2 years after that, or for the a year and a half after that, I was in London. And then in London now, I get exposed to a whole different world. Now, different world kanjani, andazi mntu apha. I don't have friends as friends, you know. The only people endibaziyo ngaba basesikolweni endidlala nabo ibhola. So I get to school in London, like any child, make a few friends ebholeni. But when I get home, ndindodwa, I don't have friends. But there's a library very close to me. So I started visiting the library and started just reading books randomly. I was very interested in science first. So I did a whole lot of science reading. Did a whole lot of science reading until I compiled a book. My own scribblings, my own notes, and these interesting facts I take from science books. Your general knowledge, your interesting science stuff, you know. And then I came across a book called The Lost Books of the Bible and the Forgotten Books of Eden.
Kwakunini ngoko?
97, 98.
So when izincwadi kuthethwa ngazo ngoku, which are like these books, I mean every esoteric or spiritual or new knowledge page or site or person, they've become so famous. They used to be a conspiracy ezincwadi.
They used to be.
Yeah,
They used to be
especially
hidden.
in 97.
They used to
but
be hidden.
ngoku yabona ziphumile, and I think it's very key that it's mentioned into yexesha, because when you discovered it in 97, bekulula for wena to doubt that.
Too easy.
You know what I mean?
Because at that time, nobody was talking about it.
Exactly.
It was very few people in little secret pockets
Exactly.
who were talking about it. Even the person I found it from, I don't want to say he's Rasta, but at that time he looked Rasta, but I myself didn't know what Rasta is. So there was this man with long dreadlocks, but he was dressed in black, and he had silver chains and rings all over him, and he spoke something so foreign to my ears. I couldn't help but buy the book he was talking about.
Sure.
And the worst part is, remember, I grew up Christian. In a Catholic church, all you see is white pictures of God, and Jesus and Matthew and Moses and Ekaya. And there's a political touch to it, because Ekaya, it's more of we are black Ethiopians. So this message from this guy resonates more to me, because he's talking about this black Ethiopian thing in Kulandi Ekaya, but not like he's speaking it. And the cover of the book used to have a dreadlocked Adam and Eve. How? These are black people. And then I took the book and browsed. Even the pictures inside are black people. So I forced my mother to buy that book for me. And another book of Frank Times, Hidden Truth. So I bought these two books, and I went home and I started eating them up. And here's the thing. I couldn't sit for 10 minutes and read a school book. I couldn't sit for 10 minutes and read a school book. I'm a child who's considered ADHD, hyperactive, you know. I couldn't sit at school, and they couldn't understand. I ngeni lento bayifundisayo, but ndiyayibamba, but I lose interest. But no, ndiyapasa esikolweni, if mind you, no, I fail. Ndiyapasa, but I'm not interested. For the first time, I'm sitting on my own with a book that I bought for myself, and I'm reading this book for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And then I started being interested to know more. Then I got to discover, through discussion, no mom, and debates, and she introduced me to the Gnostic Gospels. And then I started studying those. Why didn't anybody ever speak about this type of Christianity? In my mind at that time, I'm still a Christian, you know. Why doesn't anybody speak about this type of Christianity? But it's a child's mind. Awuzubuza imibuzo ezojika umhlaba, you know. Ubuza umbuzo wakho erumini yakho nje ohlupha wena. You don't see the weight of what you are asking. You're a child by then. Kuye, we come back, get to South Africa, and move to a boarding school, a prestige college, Amanskran, Mama Pinar. There,
So you had good education, so to speak.
I'd love to believe that.
So to speak, because good education funeka ube ngumlungu for yona. So,
But according to
it's
the
a good
norm,
education,
it's a good education.
Ndifuna ukubethelela kwindawo othethe ngayo in terms of incwadi, and I think you raised a good point ngokuthetha ngesikolo and how you couldn't keep interested esikolweni. I think it probably happens to abantwana abaninzi, and ngoku nabanye abantu xa uyicinga lento, it's not that abantu badom, it's not that abantu abasifuna isikolo, but ukuya for uyokufunda izinto that have nothing to do with you.
They don't resonate with you.
And umntana will feel that instantly. Umuntu omdala is easy to tame, you know. Uyojongela langa. Sorry guys, can we just get a cutaway of that sun, please?
Beautiful sunset.
The cameras needs up. So I think that was a very, very, very good point. And the incwadi have the way of just changing you. And I think abantu enye into abandibuzayo a lot of the times, hey, what books do you read? Ewe, incwadi ibalekile for ukuvula ulwazi lwakho, but at the very same time it's wena ne-conviction yakho
Experience yakho,
ne-experience yakho ne?
nempilo yakho. You must live thing. I get asked that question a lot. So what books do you recommend? What books do you read? If I'm honest, I always say I read the Bible. And I know this abantu abaninzi lento iyabapheka ngaphakathi ukuthi no, there's so many books and you're speaking about this ngeSintu and you're referring us to the Bible. Here's the thing about the Bible that I discovered on myself. The Bible is the best book in the world.
Sure.
In a drama, in a action, in a love story, in a treachery, horror. It's all there. Now, when you read the Bible, how do you read the Bible? Now, this was my problem in school. Uguti, you tell me that, you teach me this, but now what is the end result of this lesson you're giving me? Are you teaching me this to know the world around me? Or are you teaching me this to operate within a confined space in someone's office?
Sure.
You understand? Because you start to ask yourself those questions. What do you want to be when you grow up? Why is that question so important? What am I now? What's going to change about me in 10 years' time?
And in Bible, the education that makes you know about the world around you, yet it doesn't take you inside of yourself. So your Bible doesn't give you the science of radius yelanga okanye yonke lonto leyo, but kodwa lando ungayifunda and it takes you inside yourself.
It takes you inside yourself. It's human interaction. Thing is, here's one biggest problem. Here's one big issue abantu abanayo. Kunalento ukuthi when and this is a problem about recommending books to people, because you're gonna recommend a book to someone and then someone athi one akekho ready ukuyiva lento iphakule ncwadi. Two, uzobuza uba ibhalwe ngumlungu noba ngumuntu omnyama na.
Yeah.
Can we be intelligent about this, please? Can we be intelligent about this? Abantu abamnyama haven't written anything in hundreds of years. Yes, hieroglyphics siyazazi. Yes, the pictographs siyazazi, the ideographs siyazazi. The all these writing systems, we know that. But what we are saying is there was a gap of hundreds of years where black people were not writing books. Especially ke ngoku xa sizothetha ngehistory yethu immediately. Nobody was writing. No Mxhosa was sitting down ngexesha likayintsa writing down the story sakwaXhosa. You understand? There was no Mokhatla ngesikhathi sikaThulare. I mean, Somwalapo, nobody who was sitting down and writing the story. This story was shared from mouth to ear. And somewhere along the line, the story was embellished.
Sure.
Not to say it's wrong or not to say it's right, it's legends. Legends are not supposed to be 100% correct. But there were people like Calloway, there were people like David Livingstone, there were people like many of these historians, white historians, who actually sat down namabele and asked them, ningobani, nisukaphi, nizalwa ngubani, ngobani eminye imizi yasemabheleni, can you take me to them? This is why we know ukuthi emabheleni there are 125 houses scattered all over South Africa. eLesotho bakhona amabhele, eMpumalanga bakhona amabhele, eVenda bakhona amabhele, kwaXhosa bakhona amabhele, eMnambithi bakhona amabhele are spread all over. But how did we find that information out? Somebody sat down and asked certain questions and got certain answers and documented them. Remember this. If you want to control a people, you must know who they are.
For sure.
So extensive research was put into investigating Basingobani.
And still.
And it's still
And
happening.
it's still, because kaloku it's an ongoing thing, evolution yethu under the thumb.
Okay.
So they must still
They
always
must-
monitor.
They must still monitor
Yeah, they must always
progress, and they must monitor the
Yeah.
new trends.
Yeah.
They must monitor
Yeah,
the new waves of thoughts
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. And back to lencwadi, the one for me, eyandivusa nyanyani was uChinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart. And la ncwadi bendingayazi and bendingasoze ndiyazi ngaphandle kwe-hip hop, because ii-albums ezenziwe yile group, a rap group called The Roots, their albums are titled by books. You know, it was a part of that conscious era, go 99, conscious neo soul era, you know. And that's why hip hop, no matter what it has become, I always honor what it was to me. Yabo? And ayifumana encambini kamnandi, you know. Isemnandi, you know. Yeah. So that book changed a lot. And what else? Another thing benifuna uyithetha ngencwadi ne-history and what will happen, because indlela yomntu wonke yokuvuka yokuqaphela ilizwe, azibone naye umuntu uba ungubani kweli lizwe lingaka, indlela yelo hambo is not as the new age spirituality comes off as very peaceful, very very serene, no problems. But that is not true, because uphila kwilizwe and everybody is thinking of you to be in a certain way. Ukuba wena ufuthanisela elo lizwe nabo bantu, you can imagine i-conflict ezawufika empilweni yakho, and it starts home, it starts even with yourself, with the old habits, yonke loo nto leyo, you know. And also a lot of people, my path was, okay, let me learn about African history and all of that, which was amazing. Yabo? Then ke ngoku kubakho la period ye-anger, obviously, because anger, you know, it's almost the same anger that happens when you go to the apartheid museum, because so much has been done, you know, and we are told about what's done in other places, but most atrocities also happen right here up in South Africa. And I lived through those times. They were 1982. I remember those times. And there's also a reason why during these holidays, the June 16th, the Freedom Days, and all these holidays, they don't really take out that content anymore, because they know what it would do to people.
It has to, you must remember, you start to get into African history. And what you find out when you study Africans, God damn it. What you find out when you study Africans, what you find out when you study your people, what you find out when you study your family history, shoo. Now comes the point of, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Is this who we were?
Yeah.
Is this what we can be?
Yeah.
And then the anger kicks in.
Yeah.
These white people, these colonists, these racists, these white people, but we need to transcend
the anger,
the problem is we are stuck at the anger phase.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah. We are transcending, it's pseudo transcending. We're not transcending God, because we haven't dealt with the anger.
We haven't dealt with the anger, because this is where questions like ibhalwe ngumlungu or ngumuntu omnyama nalo ncwadi come in, because we are still in that state of anger. And trust me, nothing works. Nothing ever works if it's created out of opposition or in response to something. Example, I'm oppressing you. Your whole life, I'm oppressing you. And whatever you come up with as a system to sustain yourself is in response to that suppression. What if I lift my thumb?
You're going to still respond to suppression.
Do you understand? You are living in a false reality now. Now you're living in a false reality.
Ngakuf.
So we need to transcend that anger.
Yeah, that's the part where you go inward. Yeah, bo. And I think benifuna ukuthi it for me it was okay. Again, hip hop, Tupac. What a guy. 24 years old, this guy passed away. Izinto wayezithetha, izinto wayezenza, the multidisciplinary dude that he was. And I'm just pointing this out because this is where my love for the arts come from, because they were really spreading a message at once upon a time.
Once upon a time,
yeah.
the arts. I want us to really go into that.
We're gonna get into that.
I want us to
Song
touch
band.
the arts because
Yeah.
the arts today
No,
is just for
no, they're the
display.
farts today.
Yeah, the farts.
It's the farts, not the arts.
Yeah, it's the farts.
It's the farts.
Seriously,
For real.
it's just for display.
Yeah. It's for the marketing and pushing of capitalism. We're going to definitely get into that.
Yeah.
This is just part one.
See,
There will be
this is
many
just part
parts.
one. There's many
There will
parts.
be many parts.
This is part one.
Ayizophela. Yeah, I saw.
Awewahlela amathole.
Kakhulu. Benifuna ukuthi like so with this hip hop that led me to the books. Then it's obviously realizing the because also Tupac was the first guy to make me realize that the plight nobuhlungu bempilo for umuntu onsundu is not just in South Africa, it's everywhere. That's when I also was like, what? How can this be happening to everybody that looks like this? That was a big shock because I didn't know at the time, hadn't traveled at the time, you know. And then through that was then let me study how did this happen. That's when you get to the history of the colonizing and whatever, you know. I was so in love with history and South African history. In my matric year, I took history as a subject, higher grade, and I did not even write my European history. Because back in those days, you had to 50% for European, 50% for South African history. And even though the South African history was whatever it was, and it wasn't sufficient, but I did not write my European history, and I aced my South African history. So now I'm passing 50% as a statement. You know, as a point, the school and the adjudication system, thereby called my parents. Mama answered that call that day. I was that vigilant and that rebellious and that filled with so much zeal in matric, and I was like 17 in matric. You know, loved myself, still do. So with that knowledge, anger. All over the world, I then was like, okay, wait, but why? Why did these people do this? And that's what led me inward. Firstly, from wait, what is it about this black skin? Then came the knowledge of melanin.
What is it with this black badge of my skin?
Dude, what is it? Because it's obviously something I don't know. I don't know it. But
someone does.
They have to, they go wherever they go, do whatever they do, for whatever reason, against this skin. Well, first I thought it was the people. But what makes the people? It's that skin, right? It's something that's, because it's right here, right in front of you. Then we started scratching the skin surface. We went in, and that's then led to now the spiritual link to then, you know. So I'm just trying to map out a consciousness map yami ukuba indlela yami yaqala phi for ntoni njani ulwazi oluthile, and then dilapha ngoku to the more inward, more trying to get to that light that's not encapsulated by the body. Inzima, but that's what we're trying to get to. But it started from the music, leading me to the books that taught me about the oppression, suppression, and
we are reading from the same script.
Yeah,
because similar. Hip hop,
yeah,
influenced me a lot.
A lot.
Hip hop influenced me a lot.
A lot.
And in my reading the Bible, growing up now, I ended up writing rhymes, raps. But you know, in hip hop, every MC has a gimmick. Every MC has a story they want to tell. My story was how the Bible story fits into my everyday life as I see it.
Mm-hmm.
But then that led me to reading the Bible very differently.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very differently. And in reading the Bible, I discovered that. Now I'm going to say this. A lot of people ask, well, I always talk about the Bible, but why do I always talk about the Bible? I'm not a Christian, and I've repeated that. I've said that many times. I don't pray. I've said that many times. If I need to pray, I used to go and talk to my mother. If she prays or if she cuts down a tree or if she bangs an elephant, I don't care what she does. For me, that's God, and it ends there. Don't ask me about something I've never seen before. I've seen my mother, I've seen my father. Those are God to me. That's it. What the Bible taught me was to look beyond. Because there's always this thing, there's parables. There's parables.
Yeah.
So you read in one
I used
part
to
of the
love
Bible.
those.
You know,
I loved parables.
you read one part of the Bible talks about, and there was a sea, and trees when this and that, and then in a later part of the Bible you find that no, they say that the waters mean people,
Sure.
and the stones mean this, and the fire means that, and the dragon means this, and the lady means that. You start to understand with no man, these are symbols.
Sure.
This is a book of symbolism.
Allegory.
Allegories, not a book of religion. Now you start to go deeper now and start to understand the allegories, the symbols. There's a verse in the Bible where it says, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free.
Yeah.
But now, if this book, after reading all of it, just one part of it says, seek and ye shall find, it means ayikapheleli mos apha kule ncwadi le nto.
Yeah.
Ayikapheleli le ncwadi. Ithi le ncwadi yona self andiphelelanga. There are many books quoted in the Bible that are not in the Bible. So that should lead you to a thinking pattern ethi ayiphelelanga apha le nto. I should expand and go out. And that's what led me to studying anatomy.
Sure.
That's what led me to studying psychology. That's what led me to studying human potential. That's what led me to studying astrology, astronomy, cosmology, history. Zonke zinto. And when you put all of these things together, you discover ukuthi, oh, that symbol was referring to this reality.
Sure.
That symbol was referring to this reality. What is Christ? Let's just get that out of the way. What is Christ? Is Christ a man that was born of a virgin in Jerusalem? Or is Christ a concept that was born of purity in a place of peace? Now listen to this. Is Christ a conscious concept or a conscious reality born of a pure state, virgin, in a state of peace, Jerusalem? What does Jerusalem mean? Home of peace. Now, if you are in a state of peace and you get rid of all impurities, a new existence is born within you, and that is the Christ. Sithi licama kuthina livumile ngoba sibone ntoni kudede ubumnyama kwavela ukukhanya. Kuvela apho ukukhanya kuwe mntu. Xa sisenza isiko apha ekhaya sisenzela umntwana isiko simcelela, okukhanya sicelayo, is it gonna come in a light beam from a spaceship? No, sizobona okukhanya kuye xa kutshintsha impilo yakhe, xa kuvuleka obekuvalekile, xa kubuya obekulahlekile. That's how we see that icamagu livumile. That is Christ.
It's crazy if you talk about it Bible. I was a preacher for 3 years in Durban. Yeah, so nayo yandivula kakhulu ingqondo nomoya it was one of the first times where I realized that I'm so much more than umzimba. I was celibate for 3 years, even though I had a girlfriend. So it also taught me self-control. And being in Durban, I was away from my family. Umama notata nabantwana basekhaya
bazothi
ngiyi-last born.
ngiyayikopa le ndoda yazi
No,
Tembe.
and ibalulekile uba siyixele olu hlobo le nto because there is no coincident.
ayikho loo nto
Yeah.
coins don't dance.
No, coins don't dance.
Yeah.
Yabo. So yeah, like the era Bible in the Italian and you know. And for a long time I had anger towards it because of the color notion towards it and as long as but ulwazi lwayo and the way yandifaka kwi-ring yandinyusa, it really newsed me in another level. Ngokucinga, ngokwenza, I was diligent, I was focused, I wasn't drinking, I wasn't smoking, I was exercising, goal orientated, and just the discipline, because I was operating on that God, which is
Okay.
something that I had to remove. Yeah, boy, because that will last for so long,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So, but then also it was the lack of my African knowledge and spirituality in it. Going home, utata has the only boy not being present for imisebenzi. Now in hindsight, or looking back, looking forward, or thinking about ela xesha lakatata, nam not being emisebenzini, knowing what umsebenzi means now, and he didn't pressure me. We never fought. He allowed me to find my own way. Ndiyambonga kakhulu for London leyo. So that's dope. Now I want to get into, yazi kukho into that I've always wondered, Abba. Abantu abadala, how did they know? Sizamane sitsiba ke benchilo mos, some is for you, some is for me. And this is part 1. And this is going to be like Fast and Furious. But it's going to be slow and joyous.
Yeah.
So slow and joyous 1, slow and joyous 2. So with every time, you know. I wanted to ask into that I've been thinking about, just on a curiosity knowledge point of view. Amayeza, trees, certain herbs, certain roots, certain barks, certain foods, but most importantly amayeza. How did abantu abadala know which tree, which bark, which root to use for certain ceremonies, certain cleanses, you know, certain potions? Bayazi njani loo nto leyo? And mhlambi ndibuza into ekude, you know, because some things we'll never be able to answer, you know, because we are such versions of what was born originally, you know. But if you do have the knowledge and you can think about in your own way, xa uyicinga uba
siyibeke ngendlela ezovakala ibe lula. Kukho into ekuthiwa yabona imbotyi,
yeah,
beans.
yeah,
If you look at the shape of a bean, it's shaped like your kidney,
yes,
right? So abantu abadala kukho lento ekuthiwa i-correspondence, right? So you see a bean and you look at a kidney. Hayi man, it's shaped ngendlela efanayo lento.
which also lends itself to us knowing, not even thinking, knowing that they were opening up bodies.
No. You must understand. Xa kuxhelwa ngokwesiXhosa esibayeni, every single piece of that meat inegama.
Sure.
Kunonjeke, kunondonci, kunezifuba, kunitshilita, ziintliziyo, ngoogwaphu, zizibindi, zizintso. Every single everything
And
esemzimbeni.
kusetyenziswa yonke into.
And yonke into inomsebenzi wayo, and it's very specific.
That's beautiful.
Enyameni.
Yes. That's so beautiful.
So that is biology on its own, that is anatomy, that is physiology. So in the act of ukuhlaba esibayeni, amakhwenkwe abambileyo, amanqina amadoda njengoba besebenza nje, they are learning biology. Yes. Practically. They are dissecting.
Ilento bebesenzisa i-frogs esikolweni. Meanwhile, they should just take us to where we're supposed to be learning
Esibayeni ekhaya.
ekhaya.
While we are learning you are listening to Amaxhego talk about the stories zalapha esibani. So you are learning biology, you are learning anatomy, you are learning physiology. Ngoba uzova hayi kwethina idliwa ngamakhwenkwe loo nto izothi ithi loo nto, hayi kwethina idliwa ngomama loo nto izobathi ithi ibaphathe kanje. Now you are learning medicine as well. You are learning, oh, this is how the body works. Oh, into emzimbeni ithi umsebenzi wayo, isibindi emzimbeni umsebenzi wayo uthi, inyongo ihlele esibindini nje ihlelele lento, ugwaphu umsebenzi. So you are learning biology while you are acquiring meat.
Yeah.
You understand?
Kakhulu.
So these people, our forefathers, our ancestors, who by the way are us, we'll get to that. They knew what the body looked like inside.
Sure.
And they understood that the human body as well, in as
Sure.
these organisms,
Sure.
these organisms, you know, by dissection. You must remember, all scientific knowledge is acquired by experiment.
Got you.
All scientific knowledge is acquired by experiment. So at some point, they did dissect our ancestors.
Yes, of course.
Mummifying. Mummification. You understand? So they knew the human physiology and the human anatomy. And now, by correspondence now, uyabona mos imbotyi ifana nekidney. Oh, what if we take this, grind it up, make it into a paste, or make it into juice, or make it into tea? Umntu okhala ngale ndawo ayisele. And then it found ukuthi, oh man, iyanceda laa nto. There are plants that look like lungs, like your spinach.
Yeah.
Umfino ngesintu. Yonke imifino ubungayijonga. Besides le mifino ke,
benifuna igama leguava in Xhosa.
sinayo igwava ngesixhosa.
And yeah, these things.
Andingakhawulezi ndithi alikho. Let me think about it. But alinqabile. So all these things, we know these things. Like this, your spinach looks like lungs.
Yeah, no, for sure.
If you take your spinach, turn it upside down, it looks like lungs.
For sure.
Your lung sac.
Yeah.
So eating that cleans your lungs. So it even goes to trees.
Yeah.
There are trees ubona ukuthi the bark itself looks like a skin disease. It looks like a skin eruption. Ngathi ngamaqhakuva. Hayi man, maybe namaqhakuva wam, amaqhakuva phela. So experimentation,
Yeah.
correspondence,
Yeah.
and access to Akashic records.
Sure.
Access to knowledge that is passed down.
Sure.
Because kukho lento kuthiwa esintwini isiko lidala nakwisiduko sakho. So what is isiko? Thing is, thina bantu bamnyama sinale belief yokuthi there's Western science, there's African science, and then there's European science, and then there's Eastern science.
It's just universal
No,
science.
there's just science.
Yeah. And that science, we knew, we are the source of.
That science.
Because we are the oldest people here. So evidently.
Gravity. Do you think African people didn't know gravity?
Come on.
Intoni sindo.
Come on. Speaking of which, your views on a place that has fascinated me ndisemncinci. Andikayi kodwa I'm making plans to go. Ngicela ungixelele Egypt, Kemet, Yiputa, whatever it is that you'd call it. Like, just your thoughts, your research, your feelings after all of those things have been deduced about that place, the structures that are standing there. I'm sure Abantu also would like to hear that.
Beautiful place to go.
Second one.
To tour and fortunately, thanks to my mother.
Mama
is a giant.
Yeah.
So beautiful place to go for a tour. For knowledge, for history, I wouldn't promote it. And these are my reasons why. Recently, it's been corrupted by Arabs and Islamic influences. So whatever is in Egypt Kemet now is mostly Arabic influenced. Another thing is that I don't take lightly the fact that people came to other people's land, desecrated their ancestral graves for their own selfish reasons called research. Couldn't they research their grandfathers in Europe? Couldn't they research their own people there? Because we do know, Uguti, it was not about research, it was about grave robbings. It was people who were looking for gold, people who were looking to be famous, people who were looking for treasures, and people who were looking for the myth of immortality. Because you know that at some point, mummies used to be powdered by Arabs and sold to Europeans as the elixir of life, as the powder of immortality. So we know that the whole of Egypt is an economic enterprise.
For sure.
Somebody's making millions of money in tourism, I say Egypt, based on a lie that was left by Cleopatra and her ancestors.
What's the truth? Away from what it has become now, taking it back to ancient times, what are those structures? Who built those structures?
You know, Bizan, this PowerPoint, second. In anything mechanical, motherboard.
Yeah.
In anything mechanical,
Motherboard, mothership.
Okay. You get it?
Yeah.
If you look at it from a bird's eye view, it looks like a city.
Yes. A motherboard, yeah, computer, guys. If you look at it, it actually looks exactly like the places where the sacred spaces of
Sacred
pyramids.
spaces, exactly.
So power. It's definitely something to do with
it
power.
has to do with
something
power.
definitely has to do
It
with power.
has to do
Yeah.
with moving power.
Yes, yes.
Now, why is that whole complicated setup necessary if electricity just moves through a copper wire? You understand? Just copper wire nje ibamba la gesi uyadlula. Why that intricate structure with towers and pools and triangles and crystals and why
Chambers.
all in chambers? Why all of that? If you know that, you'll understand that kahle la kwenzeka, it's all technological. So
Yes.
it's all technological.
Yes,
if you
yes,
look
yes,
at
yes.
the buildings of the pyramid from a bird's eye view, you see an electric grid. You look at Adam's calendar, so-called Adam's calendar in Mpumalanga, and the whole area around it, Waterfall, Bovan area, you see an electric circuit. What was that all about in Egypt? You must remember, this is another thing, as ayizuphatha abantu kakuhle ngizoyithetha kodwa.
Uqhelele ungaphathi bantu.
Yeah, hey.
Ayo, sometimes ibukela i-interviews zakho ndithi hey le ndoda ilala njani ebusuku. And nami ke ndingumuntu ongaphathi bantu kahle sometimes. But I'm just like, yo, the gusto of this guy.
Ayizuphatha abantu kakuhle.
Yeah.
Egypt was the decline of African civilization. It was not our highest point.
Ethiopia was.
Egypt, Ethiopia,
Mali.
Let me say, Southern Africa, Northern Africa.
Yeah. Tell them why you said that southern.
Okay. This is Ofik.
Okay.
Egypt, Merowe, Nupata, Kush, Ethiopia, yonke landau. They come later than
The Bantus.
the Bantu. They are thousands of years younger than us. In fact, when Manas or Mane or Manu, Umanu, Maifika, is Southern Africa, and Northern Africa. He found people living scatteredly like bush people. bengena collective community, bengena siko, bengena nix. He was the one who came and created society in Egypt. And Manu, it's recorded in Egyptian records. Manu came from up the river Nile. This is where your answer now to why I say Egypt is in the south, not the north. They came from up the river Nile. Now, if up the river Nile, lo mntu lo usuka phezulu the river Nile, meaning Egypt is ezantsi. And by geography, then South Africa is at the point, phezulu.
Just to also make you angry on the point that I was talking about. So there is, we'll call it a conspiracy at this moment, that the map itself, as it is upside down.
Exactly.
And it's funny because when back in the day when they used to talk about Satanism and all these other esoteric cults that run the world and their method of doing things, they always upside down things. When you research a lot of things, they invert, they upside down because they can't create. So that energy always perverts and inverts
Precisely.
and upside down.
Precisely.
So it's when I heard that, I'm like, damn, this ties so well into the method of operation of these other people,
Exactly.
whomever they are. So and also when we talk about topography in geography, awubona imap ne soloko ucinga ba iNile flows from the Mediterranean down. Kodwa inyani emsulwa, and this is not taught in schools for a reason they know. Esizoyinabisa. The Nile actually starts in Congo, then flows through Ethiopia. It ends up in Egypt and then goes out to the Mediterranean. Londo, I found out, I swear, I probably was like 30 when I found that out. And
listen.
it totally, it totally killed me. It totally killed me.
I'm going to blow your mind some more. The Nile spills into the middle. Terra, Earth.
Yeah.
The Nile spills into Middle Earth.
Issue.
So if the Mediterranean Sea...
Now you understand why I used to walk off the camera on Vuzu and turn up. It's in the plan.
You get what I'm saying? If the Mediterranean is Middle Earth and the Nile spills into Middle... Now think geographically now. Think logically. Water comes from above, flows down. It comes from down going up, right? So the Nile comes from up, spills into the Middle Earth. What is below Middle Earth? If there's upper earth, Middle Earth, what is below?
Lower Earth.
Okay. If there's heaven, earth, what is there?
Lower Earth.
Hell. Hades. Tartarus. The land with mountains of coal. Caucasus.
Caucasians.
I didn't say that.
Also, speaking of Tatara, so, and this is what I love sometimes Instagram for. I really praise YouTube. There are a couple of people like yourselves that I follow, and when you are willing to do a research, because obviously you take information, and then there's zinto that spring up to you and zinto that interest you, you go do your own research. You know, there's so many of the new knowledge that has come out, and if phone yako ayixoxele, that algorithm that pops up, that's you.
Yeah.
That's your mind, that's you, you know. So I really appreciate those pages and those people like you that keep putting things up for us to learn from. One of the things that is of a big subject matter overseas, Mogu, is that land of Tartara, which was a land that encapsulates the Russian area of the world. And it might be more, But as I know and see in pictures, it was in that Russian area of the world. And these people,
The Kremlin is based on it.
yes,
The
right?
Russian Kremlin.
The Russian Kremlin,
is
yes,
based on it.
right?
It's in fact it's a remnant of it.
Sure.
That's
And-
why the Russian Kremlin is a secret. Is the headquarter of the Russian secret police.
Russia knows a lot. You know, Russia knows a lot. Shout outs to Vladimir for also showing us those pictures. You know, that was, and it's so weird how everybody just slept on it. Like, and yes, man,
Nothing happened.
hey, it was weird. But anyway, yenzekile siyibonile thina, and there's so much more they have, obviously. But Tartaria was this place. They built so many things. Ether, free electricity.
I was about to go there again, Goku. Take you back a few steps.
Can I just lay it down for them? So you're only taught about the 4 elements: wind, water, earth, fire. Those are 4 elements. There's a 5th one that they keep away, which is ether, which is natural electricity all around. And again, hip hop springs to mind because Nas, when he laced Jay-Z, he called the track ether. Crazy. Go back up, Tom.
So if you think about it now, let's look at Scandinavian mythology. And I want to show you how this thing unites everywhere. In Scandinavian mythology, there is a world tree called Yggdrasil. Now, Yggdrasil is divided into 3 main worlds. The upper world, middle world, and the lower world. Asgard, Midgard, and Jotunheim.
And these names are names they put in these series.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
About Game of Thrones, about Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
They put these names in there.
Now, if you watch, but in Asgard, Odin and the gods live there.
Yes.
And there's always light there.
Yes.
It's never dark. And they live like gods in lavish palaces, in pyramid buildings and Mamelage. Then there is Midgard, where Thor, the son of Odin, is guardian.
Sure.
So he comes between earth and heaven, right? Between Asgard and Midgard, with lightning in his hand, hammer, striking lightning and changing the weather, right? And then below him is where his half-brother was born, a Jotunheim, Uloki, the trickster, who gets adopted by his father and Makhulabui too. Okay. So there is a place of eternal light, there is a place of eternal darkness, and then there is a place where these two strangely blend.
Sure. Which is right
the
here.
Middle Earth, right?
Which is right here, yeah.
Think about it now. When the Greeks, the first person to write a book in Greek, in Greece, was Homer. Homer says, yonder there, beyond the sea.
It's crazy, Homer.
In
the Simpsons pop up again.
Okay. In the land of the gods.
Sure.
Where light is present day and night. Now, this means if I'm standing in Greeks, there is the Mediterranean Sea, right? Across, what do I see?
Egypt.
Exactly. Now, this guy who's never traveled to that side says beyond the sea, there is the land of the gods where there is light day and night. It's never night there. It means by the time of Homer, there was already electricity in Egypt.
For sure.
This is pre-Plato, pre-Socrates, pre-Heraclitus, pre-Pythagoras. Hundreds of years before Pythagoras was born, there was already electricity in Egypt. And I said Egypt was the last civilization in Africa, not the earliest.
So imagine what was happening.
Imagine what was happening deeper into Africa.
Yeah.
Up the River Nile.
I mean, the Dogon people, for those, I mean, we're not going to go in depth with them, but for Lendo Aitetayo Abba about Kautringe, just think about what was happening on this continent that they don't tell us. If they were talking about electricity being present in Egypt at that time, one of the other things that fascinated me was a people in Mali called the Dogon tribe that knew about. Now everybody's talking about these things. A star system called Sirius B. They knew about this before NASA was talking about it, knew about it. They've been talking about it for ages in their tribe. They have it in drawings, and they talk about Nibiru and the fact that we as the Bantu Abansundu come from that place. And that fascinated me. Again, there's this underlying feeling of we know things that are more older than recorded time. And when you then realize this is why the Crusades and all of these wars were happening, and they had to wipe out ancient civilizations. They had to wipe up that knowledge. They had to wipe up those artifacts and collect them for themselves. And they had to wipe up those recordings and books. And zonke those zinto are now hidden at the Vatican and many other places. You know, your Smithsonian's. All of these places are the same thing. Because Rome did not die. Rome is still alive. America is the military wing. England is the money.
Financial wing.
And one more that we're missing.
It's America, England, and
Italy is the religious wing where they use spirituality to make the money. You know?
Rome is not dead.
Rome is not dead.
Rome can't die. Rome is eternal.
It just evolved.
Rome evolves. Rome never dies.
And this is why it's so hectic, because then you correlate why they altered the Bible and they had a Roman Catholic Church to
let's talk reality now.
Yeah.
Is the Roman Catholic Church a religion or a scientific institution?
It's the latter. It's the latter.
Now, they are a scientific institution. But everyone else who trickles down from the Roman Catholic Church in terms of Christian religion are not allowed to study science. Do you understand? The Catholic Church is a scientific. Why would you have books from heretics in the church? Why don't you take them away and give them to heretics? Why would you have Leonardo da Vinci's books in the libraries of the church? Why would you have Egyptian books in your libraries, but you're a church? Isn't your only book the Bible? What the Catholic Church is studying is deeper than what people think.
Thank you.
It's deeper than what people think. Those priests, it takes you 7 years just to become a padre. Just a low-level priest. 7 years. What are you studying for so long?
Yeah.
And then you have to have a master's degree in a science in order for you to become bishop. What are these people studying? You need PhD level at cardinal level.
I didn't know that.
What are these people studying? And then thina abafundisi bethu base uSilo, as long as they go, that's it.
Yeah.
Now, you need to understand that where we are, people don't want you to know who you are.
Asibuye apho ke to who we are. What is the purpose of, how did it happen? Isiko. Nkosi. Amasiko like imbeleko, okoluka, zonke izinto sizenzayo ezizigaba zempilo.
How and why did it come about?
And mind you, they also mentioned in the Bible somewhere, somehow, especially in those Old Testament chapters, or Deuteronomy, or Kings, or Numbers, when they are allotting lands and they're showing how to which foods to eat, the anointing of kings. Zonke izinto, funny enough, circumcision, likhona, you know, that's very not funny, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But benifuna uyazi from your knowledge, you know, just tell us.
Isiko liqalaphi? What is Isiko? It's the act of being cut from your mother's umbilical cord.
Isiko.
Get it?
Got it. Oh my God.
The act of being cut from your mother's umbilical cord.
Amagama esiXhosa are always, most of the time, doing words.
Exactly. And they describe what they mean.
hlala isihlalo. Okay, go on. Sorry.
You know?
Isiko. Wow. Wow.
Lento esikwayo ke ngoku inkaba mos. Kushiyeka a piece of it apha kuwe. And then iyalindwa lento le ide iwe. Kuthiwa iwile intoni? Inkaba. Inkaba. Mawulimamele ligama liyathetha.
Inkaba. No?
Andithe bekhaba lo muntu apha eswini kumama. Inkaba. Inimba. Inkaba. This is how you felt ukuthi uyaphila. Now he's being detached from umamakhe. Ngale nkaba iyawa. Now the connection between child and mother is cut. Isiko. The mother, after that period of time, then takes umntwana to the father. Ayofumana isithethe sekhaya. Right? Isiko unina. Isithethe utatakho.
Preach, bruv.
So, lamasiko esenziwa nje are a reenactment of a natural process that happens naturally. So, kunyanzelekile umntwana asikwe nakulotata. Enzelwe isiko lakulotata. But you can't cut the child again. So you cut a goat.
Preach, brother.
And that goat is going to attach this child to this family.
Of the
Because
father.
for 9 months, this child was attached to that family.
Mama, unina.
Do you understand?
Fully. Abba, usezoqhubeka.
Ukhona umbuzo qala.
And then ke ngoku incamazane siyazi njani bafuneka sisebenzise ephi incamazane for eliphi isiko okanye esiphi isithethe. Olu lwazi lwafika njani?
Yiva eligama lithi isithethe. Iyathetha lento. So kuye kwakhangelwa apha kwincamazana sesiphi isilwane esithethayo. Igusha ayithethi. Ibhokhwe iyathetha. Inkomo iyathetha. And uzuyibona uba ibhokhwe nenkomo ziyathetha. Uma naye ebuhlanti uyixelele uba sidibene senza oku noku noku ikuphendule ithi ma. Uthethe enkomeni uthi sidibene apha senza oku noku noku ikuphendule ithi mu. You understand? Saze kanjalo kuba yeyiphi le ncamazana kuba ke xa uhamba ehlathini kukho ezincamazana zimbalekayo umuntu. Kukho ezincamazana kukwincamazana ezimbalekayo umuntu. Kukho iinyamakazi ezimleqayo umuntu. Kukho iingwenyama ezileqa nezinye izilwanyana. So awukwazi uthatha ingwenyama uzokwenza isiko lekhaya uzoqwenga wonke umuntu.
Hey, people of the south, people of the north, people of the east, and everybody in between, everybody overseas, everybody in upper earth, middle earth, and lower earth, all the galaxies combined. Olu siko lanamhlanje lwale ncoko besinayo no Abba luyaqala alupheli nelanga selitshonile ngoku. Sincokole ngakubanzi ngezinto ezininzi simane sitsiba sithi tsikxa siyaphana pha kodwa yonke into has quite a commonality to it. I urge you to research it. I urge you to get your own study groups, you know, because iron sharpens iron. Nilolane nincokole ngezinto if they interest you. Kusiyabonga lona kwakhona ungwekazi ibhele ulango mafu uqunta ukhubona undaba ezithi ilanga lokulunga kumnyama xa ndikho kuthiwa ibhele laphekwane litye kwavuthwa ilitye kwasheka ibhele. Anytime I'm going through some hard times ndibambelela apho.
Yeah.
cause eli litye funeka liphekwe kaloku kusheke mna.
Yeah.
Ngunontanda lo abokuthanda ukuphakanyiswa abahamba nabathu abemali. Umbakamba umbikazi. Inkomo zakabuthi, inkomo zakandamase. Ndiyacamagusha kwamacirho ntswentso nojaholo. Ndiyacamagusha korhatebe ondlebe ntle zombini. Ndiyacamagusha kwamanqarhwane ohlabilawo. Oyintsa. Oyintsa? Oyintsabe. Zonke isishwele, zonke isiduko, zonke izinyanya zilibangu leligazi lethu. Ndiyabulela mani kakhulu nakula majita ashutayo. Ndiyabulela kakhulu. Amathambo wami ayashukuma. Umzimba upholile. Nenhliziyo nje ihlaziyekile. Ndiyabulela kakhulu. I hope you guys really did get something out of it. It was really a real talk. We're not coming from a point of a pedestal. Asithethe ngathi singomazi wazo izinto. Sithela ngezinto esizifundileyo and how they make us feel, because at the end of the day, inyani is about how you feel and how it makes you feel. It's more than what you see, because siyaxoxiselwa ngoku izinto esizibonayo. So it's really about the feeling and what resonates with you. So ndiyabulela apha part 1 lona benthenga Fast and Furious, but thina sawuthi ngu-slow and joyous. Ithini bhuti wami?
Ndiyabulela phela.
Bulela mna.
Ndiyabulela Khuboni.
Bulela mna.
Ndiyabulela Khuboni. Like you said, it needs into 30 way. And I always say this, please don't believe me. Abaningi bashilo nkosi yami bathi ngibhema insangu.
Which you do.
Ngiyayibhema bakwethu insangu. So
And then?
don't believe me. Please go and do your own research and be open-minded when you do your research. Don't go into a research like a reverse racist. Siyabonga. Give thanks.
Thank you.